Welcome to the SwimSwam podcast. I'm your host, Coleman Hodges. Joining me today, got a very special guest. He's kind enough to come back on the podcast. Today, we're talking to the University of Virginia swimming and diving head coach, Todd DeSorbo.
What's up?
I want to start with, I think it was not this past weekend, it's Monday now. The weekend before, you guys had a pair of pretty epic dual meets. And that started with UNC, where the women, I think, won, but the men, it came down to the final relay. So tell me about, let's start with that dual meet. Tell me about kind of the excitement, the energy, what that racing felt like, especially was that your first meet in a while?
No, we swam Virginia Tech at home the weekend before that.
Okay.
So that was our second, that week, last weekend was our second back-to-back actually weekends of racing. So quite a bit of racing dual meets over those like three dual meets in literally a week. So a lot of racing. But yeah, it was fun. UNC has always been a great competition for our team, and back in the day, and by back in the day, that probably, I don't know, it's been a while, I guess, but UVA UNC are a pretty big rivalry, at least from a swimming and diving perspective. So I'd say 90s. Early 2000s, UVA and UNC were the top two teams in the conference. And so their dual meets were pretty epic. I think they were really intense. ACC championship was always, pretty intense and a tough competition between the two teams. And so, it's obviously now UNC and Virginia, we both have new coaching staff. So, it might be a little bit different now, but, they still provide great competition. And, I always enjoy going down there and racing them. And I'm from North Carolina, so it's good to kind of get back down there as well.
Yeah.
The men, our men are, it's just funny. I mentioned to our staff after that weekend, our men are notorious. And I want to go back and review our dual meets over the last 3.5 years since our staff has been here. But we've had so many dual meets come down to the last relay, our men, like so many. A lot of them. It's like our men it's just something, I don't know why, but they like to bring it down to the wire. And so which is fun. I think you always get great relays, you get great swims. Our mid-season invite, which was competed as a dual meet with Alabama and Tennessee, came down to the last relay between Alabama and us. It's just, we at least have one or two a year that come down to the last relay. So, it's provides a lot of excitement. I would rather have tough dual meets that come down to the last relay than dual meets where you just run away. And, because I think by the end of the dual meet, they tend to lose their luster and their intensity a little bit. And, at the conference championship or the NCAA championship, you've got to be intense and you got to be on it all the way through to the very end. So I think it just gives us, great experience heading into that, the championship season.
Yeah, for that dual meet specifically, was there a factor or were there a couple factors you noticed as the guys moved throughout the meet that contributed to that, just, it coming down to the last relay?
I don't think so, really. They're really good at diving, really, really good at diving. And so they swept us in diving 1, 2, 3 on both boards. We also only have one male diver, so that doesn't really help us. He holds his own, but when you're only one and you're going against 3, you're down regardless. You're down. Even if he had won, it's a wash. So that was but we knew that going in. We knew it was going to be that way going in. So I just think UNC swam great and stepped up, and we swam fine as well. We drove down. It's not that far of a trip. It's like 3.5 hours. We drove down that morning and raced, and so it's just how it ended up.
Yeah.
and it's always interesting too. Along with that, we have great IMers, and so we had to do really well in the 2IM. The IM is always the last individual event before the last relay, and so we had to do really well in the IM just to get to the point where we could win it on the last relay. I think we swept the IM. I think our men went 1, 2, 3 in the IM, and that put us in the position to actually be able to, bring it down to the last relay. That happened. That's happened on multiple occasions over the course of the last couple of years as well, where we get to the point where, all right, hey, IMers, you got to step up, because if we don't win this, or at least go 1, 2, we're not even going to get a chance on the relay. And every single time the IMers step up, and then then it gets down to the relay. So it makes it puts pressure not just on the relay swimmers, but it puts pressure on those IM guys right before that relay as well. And it's just fun to see a group of guys come together, like that. And the entire team gets behind them too, right? So the girls are behind them, the rest of the guys who aren't swimming are behind them, and it creates a really energetic and magnetic experience for that last couple of events of a dual meet. It's exhausting though.
I can imagine. It sounds like a lot of emotional energy, and I'm sure the cheering, the yelling, a lot of physical energy too. For you as the head coach in that position, coming down to the 2IM, then the 4 free relay, do you feel the responsibility of, okay, I have to put the team on my back and I have to get them fired up to get ready to do this? Or are you able to step back and say, you know what, I think they're going to be okay? Or like they know what to do, they can handle it themselves?
I think it's a little bit of both. I do feel confident that they can handle it themselves, especially considering they've been in that position so many times over the last few years. But I can't sit back. It'd be really hard for me to sit back and not say anything and not get them all fired up. So I think it's a little bit of both. And I think our coaching staff, we just do a good job of getting them fired up and motivated anyway. So, why not add some fuel to the fire?
Yeah. That again, that sounds like a super exciting environment, probably exhausting. And then to come back the next day, race again at NC State. And it was the women this time who brought it down to the final relay. Can you, especially to give our listeners some context to that meet, you're dueling NC State, your old coach or your old boss in Braden Holloway. So I'm sure there's a good friendship, a good healthy rivalry there. In the 1,000 free, 2 of your girls DQ. What happened there?
Yeah. Well, and I think that, before that, just the fact that the night before was pretty exhausting and pretty intense, even though it was on the men's side, the girls get into it as well. And I told our team, I was like, it's going to be a challenge no matter what, before we even get to the NC State dual meet the next morning. Cause it's, we finished the dual meet about 7 or 8 p.m. Friday night. And then we turn around with an 11 a.m. dual on Saturday. It doesn't seem like it would be that hard, but when you start thinking about it, I told our kids, I was like, a lot of you are going to swim 8 races in less than 24 hours. And whereas, even at ACCs or NCAAs, the most you're ever going to swim in 24 hours is like 3 events. So it's challenging to say the least. But again, I think it's great because it sets you up for that championship season. And it makes that seem that much easier. The 1,000. So, we had 2 girls in it, Paige Madden and Maddie Donahoe, and I'm not really sure what they were thinking. Our coaches didn't even notice. We weren't even paying attention at all. We were, just into the meet and into the race, and probably about halfway through the event, maybe like 500 yards in, an official comes over to me and asks me who was swimming in lane 8. And of course I'm thinking, he just wants to know who it is because she's a great swimmer and maybe he likes her technique, or like, I don't know, she's going fast, because a lot of times people come over and say, hey, who is that? They look great. And so, the official, I didn't think anything of it. And I was like, oh, it's Paige Madden. And then he looks at shows me his heat sheet and points. And he says, they're swimming in the wrong lanes. They're both disqualified. So anyway, so we got another 500 to go. And, we just kept cheering, and we ended up 1-2ing the 1,000 by actual finishes, but got DQ'd. So we got 0 points, and they end up going 1, 2, 3. So that put us in a pretty big hole right away. And I debated even telling the girls that it happened, Because they swam great, but one, probably like maybe two events later, one of our guys came over to me and was like, "So why did they get disqualified in 1,000?" And I was like, "Oh, how'd you know?" He's like, "Meet Mobile." I was like, "Dang." So they're gonna find out, right? So anyway, we had a little chat about it at the first break, and it is what it is. But it definitely, again, provided a little bit more excitement and intensity and just a bigger challenge.
Yeah. I mean, what again, do you say something to get them motivated, or do you let that kind of do the talking for you?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to the girls, and fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know, I've been a part of a lot of wild situations, and most of it was when I was at NC State. Back in the day, we were notorious for disqualifying relays at the ACC championship and at NCAA's, and you've got to, and things like that happen to everybody, right? There's just random stuff that's going to happen that's going to throw you for a loop. Like, rarely do swim meets go perfectly for everybody. And so I just kind of told him, I was like, look, this is good practice for what if you get to ACCs, or what if you get to NCAAs and something goes wrong? What if you do disqualify a relay? Worst case, people don't even like to talk about that stuff or even mention it, right? But I think that it's good to at least have been in a situation or be aware, because then how to react when something like that, something doesn't go your way, and you've got to overcome that. And so I just told the girls, I was like, look, if you can crawl back into this and make it close, or even come out with a win, that's gonna, it's gonna serve you well down the line. And I think it motivated them, certainly. They didn't, regardless of that or anything else, or just being down and being beat, that they're gonna be motivated to race and fight and try to win no matter what, because they want to win.
Yeah. Quick side note, you mentioned NC State relays getting DQ'd. I know it was a huge goal for Braden, for the staff, to win a relay at NCAA's. Did you guys get two winning relays DQ'd before you actually won an official one?
No, we deked the 200 free relay. So we deked at Texas. I can't remember what year it was, maybe 2014. We deked the 200 free relay in prelims, the men's 200 free relay. We were seated like third, I think, or somewhere around there going into the meet, and deked the prelim swim. And it was hilarious because two of the guys actually went early, not just one. And we got so much, on SwimSwam, of course, on the comments, we got just bashed because we never practiced relay starts or something. And then the following year, it was at Iowa, and so we didn't necessarily win that relay and get deked. We didn't make it through prelims. And then at Iowa the next year, the 200 free relay again, we were, I don't know if we were seated first or not, but we were seated top 3. We might've been seated first. We actually we got disqualified in prelims, but it was a pad malfunction. So it was overturned. And then we won by a mile and got deked. Our anchor went 0.01 early and got deked, and we won by I think we won by a second. Once. So we did win one and got DQ'd before actually winning one legitimately. Okay.
Yeah, because I remember, vaguely that saga of just oh man, they want that relay. It just keeps eluding.
Yeah. I know obviously we're getting off topic here a little bit, but I just remember standing next to Greg Troy the second time at Iowa, standing next to Greg Troy, and he, after we won the relay, he patted me on the back and he was like, "You finally got one." You got it. Yeah, that was clean. You got one. And I was like, no. I was like, don't say that. And I just walked off. And then, of course, you hear the, official results, or results are unofficial. When you hear that, everybody in the heat is like, "Oh crap, who was it?"
It's the worst thing you can hear at an NCAA meet.
I told Greg Troy, I was like, "Greg, I'm never standing next to you at a meet ever again."
It's bad luck.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. getting back on track. That's a great story. Getting back on track. So the women are down, and then you keep you go through the meet. Was it at what point did you realize, okay, we might be able to actually win?
Well, I mean, I think, it just as the meet went on and you're following the score, we were able to, slowly narrow the gap. And, I think we just got to the point very similar to the night before with the men, where we got down to the IM and we're like, all right, we've got some pretty heavy hitters in this IM, but we have to win the IM. We also knew the 500 free, which is, right before that, Paige and Maddie were coming back. And I think they both kind of came back with a little bit of a vengeance because they had just gotten DQ'd in 1,000. And so I think they won the 500. So that helped, pretty significantly. And that was kind of the point where we were able to get to that similar point as the men. We're like, all right, we're in a position. We've got to win this IM and score some points there to get to the point where we can, where it comes down to the relay. So it was more towards the tail end of the meet, where we're like, okay, hey, we might be able to win this now.
Yeah. And then again, take me through that 400 free relay. How exciting was that relay?
Yeah, it was. And it was interesting because and NC State was in the same position. We had used our, like Kate Douglas could not swim the relay because she had all her events done. Alex Walsh couldn't swim the relay. She had all her events done. And so those are two of the girls that, typically would be on our A freestyle relay. And I know NC State was in a similar position, and they didn't have one or two of their girls that would typically be in the A relay. So the exciting thing was, for us especially, was to see some other girls step up into that position. And, I think at the end we were 3:18, which 3:18 is a really fast dual meet, 400 free relay for the women, even with your all four of your fastest girls on the relay. So, and we had a first year, maybe a first month, Riley Tiltman, who is technically a part of our class for next fall. She's a 2021. She graduated early and wanted to come early and start training with us. And so she's literally been with us for a month, and she led the relay off. So like a month of being here, she's thrown into this position where, hey, we got to win this relay to win the meet against, a top 5 team in the country. And, a team that we battle with for the ACC title every year. And so, hey, you're going to lead this relay off. I don't know what was going through her mind. She's probably really nervous, and she swam really, really well. Kyla Vowles, who's one of our senior girls, she's the type of swimmer that swims out of her mind on relays. I think she went like 51 something in the 100 free individual, and then split 49-3 on the relay. So that just I knew that they would step up and swim, for their team. You just never know how much they'll step up and if it's going to be enough, because you obviously can't control the other team. But yeah, it was pretty exciting. And the most fun part of it was just the intensity of the rest of our team, as well as NC State's team, because everybody in the place knew it was coming down to the relay. And so, their whole team was behind the blocks because that's where they were sitting. And our whole team was at the other end of the pool at the 25 wall, and everybody's standing up. Like there was nobody quiet or sitting down during that relay. So it was just those moments, coming down to the last relay are really fun and they're really intense. Like I mentioned the day before. And it just makes it more exciting. Again, it's exhausting. I mean, it's exhausting, but I don't know, maybe it's more exhausting for me as a coach than it is for them. I don't know, but it was a lot. It was fun. And fortunately we came out on the, the winning side of that. So, that makes it a little bit more fun.
Yeah. And getting to not only race these top teams, as you said, and, coming out with the win every once in a while as well, but also, getting to race a program that you had been a part of, that you helped grow from the ground up, and that I'm guessing now, you're still good friends with Braden. I mean, how fun is that for you, or meaningful is it for you as a head coach now?
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's always, it's different than going anywhere else, especially when we go there and going back to, the pool I spent so many hours in. And, I think that I think it's really good just to be able to, go in and compete with, one of the best teams in the country, and we'll get to do that every year. It was fun helping to build the program, and Braden and their staff have done a good job of, keeping it rolling. I've been gone now for a while, so I don't necessarily even know a lot of their swimmers anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's a great rivalry. It's a lot of fun. And I think just like any rivalry, it's great for the sport. It's great for your athletes. It's great experience. It's what, like Riley Tiltman, for example, leading off that relay, I told her on the bus on the ride home, I was like, that's why you swim college. That type of meet and being in that position is what it's all about. It's fun.
Do you have to emphasize a rivalry like that just because of your history, or your swimmers kind of aware, oh yeah, this is where Todd was before this, like we need to make this one kind of level it up a notch?
Yeah. Oh, they're aware. They're well aware. And not to mention that their men won and have won the ACCs for the last several years. We were second. And on the flip side of it, our women won ACCs and their women were second. So you're basically going up, it's the top two teams in the conference. So, in addition to my history coaching there, you have just the simple fact that even if I didn't have the history there, I think there would still be a pretty heated, intense rivalry, knowing that it's the top two teams in the conference and neither team wants to lose.
That makes perfect sense, because who likes losing, right? Yeah. So you mentioned Riley, and that's another topic I wanted to hit on was your freshman class this year. Obviously, last year heading into NCAAs, you guys were a favorite to win on paper, at least. And, obviously NCAAs got canceled, and then you get this freshman class in this year. And I want to talk about, because you guys, I think you were the #1 recruiting class on SwimSwam. I have to assume that
I don't know.
I don't either. You were definitely top 4, because you guys were just stacked. And so what have the freshmen this year brought to the team in this training environment, in this COVID environment so far this season?
Yeah. I just think they, like what you hope for out of freshmen is they just elevate the program and they elevate people around you, and around themselves day to day in practice. I think that as good as any freshman can be, and our freshman class is really good, but as good as they are, and as elite talent, athletes as they are, they're still rookies and they still have no idea. And so, I think that the upperclassmen serve as much, if not more important role in helping them to understand everything that we do and how we do things and what the expectations are, and bringing those freshmen kind of up to speed as quickly as possible. But their talent alone and their ability in practices and in the water day to day just elevate everybody around them, right? Because and that's what you hope for. You hope that your freshman can come in and can train at a decently high level and will push the people around them. And that's basically what's happened, and I think that's how our upperclassmen will continue to get better, and continue to improve is by bringing in great freshman classes every year where there's just added competition. And granted, they're one team and they're the same team and they have the same goals as a team. But healthy competition in practice is huge. If you've got somebody just as fast as you, or faster than you, day to day, you're going to chase them and you're going to try to beat them. And I'll throw Anna Keating under the bus. I hope she doesn't get mad at me, but Anna, she's a great breaststroker out of high school. She's a 59, 100 breaststroker, 209, 200 breasts. I think one of the best breaststrokers in that class. But we've got, for whatever reason, randomly, we're pretty loaded in breaststroke. We've got, 5 or 6 girls under 210 and the same amount of them go under a minute. And so our breaststroke practices are insane. And she's told me on occasion, she's like, I'm just not used to getting beat in practice, because in club swimming, she might, she might get beat by the guys, but there weren't any girls that were going to beat her in practice. And now there's girls that can beat her in practice. And so I think that's a pretty big adjustment for somebody at that level. But she's, used that to her advantage and, seeing what they can do in practice and has elevated herself. And that in turn is elevating those other girls as well, to improve and race. And they have fun doing it. They push each other, they support each other. And they do it together rather than, they're not doing it against each other. They're doing it together. So, but they definitely elevated, the people around them. They've elevated, the program, certainly.
Yeah, that was a great example. And I was going to ask if you had any other anecdotes of that freshman class where you can tell, oh man, you're kind of new at this, or, where you can see them kind of rubbing off on that senior class. Like you said, it's a two-way street. Have there been specific moments where you've seen a senior class, passing on the wisdom to the freshmen, or vice versa?
Oh yeah, I don't know that the freshmen are passing on any wisdom, but the senior class certainly passes on the wisdom and shares it. And we've got a small senior class, especially on both sides, men and women. We only have three swimmers on both sides, and some divers as well. So they're small but really impactful classes. And they've definitely been imparting wisdom on the younger kids. And on the flip side of it, I think that our upperclassmen are excited about these incoming freshman class because they want to win. They want to win NCAAs, they want to win ACCs, and they know that these athletes are going to help them, to win. And it's just like with Riley coming in early. I think Riley was a little bit worried that the team would be, not in favor of her competing, because she may take a spot, a conference spot from somebody. She may take an NCAA spot from somebody. Maybe she takes a relay spot from somebody who's already been here. And it was 100% the contrary. I mean, our girls were like, bring her. We want it. Let's go. If she's going to help us win and be better as a team, then we're excited about it. So, she adds, any one of them is adding competition to the pool every day, adding competition for relay spots, adding competition for conference and NCAA roster spots. But our team is, I've never seen anybody, be upset or anything about not being on the relay or, not being named to the conference team. They just are happy. Everybody's just happy to be a part of it.
And I don't think that's something you see on every team, right? I think that it is very easy to let a little bit of jealousy slip in, or a little bit of vanity, and say, well, this is my spot, or this should have been my race to swim, my relay to anchor. I mean, just this year, how do you as a coach help that process along and help that, kind of vibe of, no, we're doing this as a team. This isn't for the individuals.
Yeah. I think that's happened naturally for our teams, just because they want to get better and improve and win so badly, especially after last year and, not having NCAAs and having the opportunity to at least contend for a national title. I mean, I'm not going to say we would have won, but I will say that we would have been in a position to contend for it. I think that, it's all, I think it's all just kind of happened organically here. When new athletes come in, they're just so excited about getting better as a team and having an even better opportunity or better chance to potentially win. None of that, jealousy or, disappointment or anything like that really has come into play because of that. Maybe that changes down the line when maybe, hopefully we will win a national title at some point. Maybe that changes things a little bit at that point. But at least for now, with, the desire to win, they're just focused on, helping each other, supporting each other, and getting as much out of each other as they can, throughout the year.
Just for context, have the Virginia women ever won a national title in swimming?
No, nobody. Virginia has never won one, men or women. In fact, nobody from our conference has ever won a national championship as a team, swimming and diving. So not only would it be the first Virginia team to win, it would be the first in the history of the ACC to win.
I did not realize that. That's kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So with NCAA's in mind, no one even knows if there's about conference meets, let alone NCAA's. At this point, I think everyone's planning on them, but we've all seen things implode a week before, days before the meets. With that in mind, do you approach opportunities like these dual meets any differently than you normally would, just with knowing, well, this could be our last race of the season?
I would say not necessarily the dual meets. We approached a lot of the first semester really differently, really differently from a training perspective, from a competition perspective, because early, in October and November, things were really, there was a lot. We were missing a lot of clarity. We didn't know if we were going to have a season. You didn't know if you were going to have conference. You didn't know if you were going to have NCAAs. And in November and October, March is so far away that you can't even fathom thinking about having, that competition. I mean, even myself, I was like, I don't know how we're going to have 12 teams in one pool at ACCs. I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do it. We did our midseason invite with Tennessee and Alabama, and you're talking 3 teams, granted dual gender, so really 6 teams. And I'm like, that was a challenge in and of itself. So I'm like, how are we going to put 12 teams? So, first semester, we definitely had a really different approach. Now that we're a lot closer, and even like right after Christmas when we came back for winter training, we've taken more of our traditional approach, just knowing that we're that much closer, and we feel pretty confident that it'll happen. At least the conference championship meet, we feel pretty confident that's going to happen. I think we're definitely I think from a mental psychological perspective, especially we're taking more of an approach towards the conference meet that, we're going to focus on the conference meet, and then we'll figure out NCAAs after that if it happens, because you don't know, right? And you've got, we're not the only team in this position, but you've got, we've had, I don't know, 8 or 10 girls who didn't taper for the conference championship meet last year, so they haven't tapered short course in 2 years. Right. And so it's like, all right, and we've, they've swum well through the year and stuff, but, you'd hate for them to not get a rest meet this year.
Mm-hmm. And so tell me about last semester. You said you approached it a lot differently. What does that entail?
Most of it was from a training perspective. And a lot of that was based on just keeping them motivated and keeping them engaged for the most part, without knowing what the season's going to look like and how it's going to unfold. I didn't, normally in a normal year, October, a lot of people refer to it as Rocktober, so you're just crushing them even into November. We don't typically rest for our midseason invite, so we've got a solid 2 months of just hardcore grind, right? And not that we didn't train hard. We certainly trained hard this year, but we didn't swim a double the entire first semester, which normally we're doing 9 practices a week, so we're doubling 3 times. We only swam once a day the entire first semester. I just couldn't really fathom putting our team through our typical October and November if we indeed weren't going to end up having a season. So we told them, we're like, look, we're going to go 1 practice a day. We're going to crush it. We're going to train intense. And honestly, most of them were begging for doubles because they knew with singles, every single practice was going to be really hard. And so by the time we got through it, they're like, I'm ready for doubles. I'm ready for doubles. Which is exactly what we wanted. It worked out really well. And so, but we, on top of like, just not the uncertainty of the season, you also have the restrictions on social life, and because of social distancing and mask wearing, and the university put restrictions on how many people could gather at one time. And that fluctuated here between, like, it went from 15 people down to 10 people, down to 5 people, back to 10 people. And so, the whole team couldn't get together like they might normally get together. So, there was just a lot going on that we wanted to make sure that they had time to decompress and it wasn't all about swimming. It was just about, just let's make the most of it. And I talked to the team a lot about this year is not necessarily going to be about winning a conference title or winning an NCAA title. It's just going to be about getting to that point, because you never know what's going to happen, right? And there's so many different things that are going into it this year compared to last year. Like last year, it was like COVID hit, it's just done, right? This year, it could be COVID worsens and everything's done, but there also could be, well, just you're going to get a 2-week pause, or you 5 people are out for 2 weeks, or whatever it is. So there's just so much that's coming into play this year that we felt like that approach was going to be important to their emotional status, on top of not being able to hang out with each other. And you got apartments of girls and guys that are 4 people in an apartment, and that's the only people they see outside of coming to practice. So it's gone about as, knock on wood, it's gone about as good as it could possibly have gone throughout this year. But it's definitely been, it's been really different.
Certainly. And again, I think, like you said, putting the emotional well-being of the athletes before, just, hey, let's pound some yardage and get into shape.
Yeah.
It seems like a really smart approach. How did you approach racing that first semester? Obviously, like you said, you had the mid-season invite, but not a lot of racing opportunities. Other than that, what were you doing to supplement that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so we weren't allowed, our conference, we couldn't compete before November 1st, or I think it was like October 28th. So, we weren't able to officially compete until a month after probably we normally would, because usually we're competing by early October, maybe mid or October at the earliest. And that's the thing, right? Especially in the month of October and November, like competing is the one thing that gives some reprieve from the grind. And it's what people look forward to, right? Like, some people look forward to practice, but let's be honest. Everybody looks forward to competition. And so to not be able to have like I feel for the Big Ten, not being able to compete until after the new year, or the Pac-12, like that's brutal to just go that long without competing. Fortunately, we could starting in November, but even the fact that we last competed in February and we didn't compete, all the way through the summer, even for us, not officially competing until November is a long time. So we did a lot of racing, a lot of inter squad racing. I think we had 2 different short course inter squads, and we did a long course inter squad all before November. And then we had a dual meet, and then we went to US Open, and then we went to, the Tennessee Invite. So, we were doing a lot of racing, and, we kind of told our team, like, look, every meet you might go to this year might be like an inter squad meet, right? There probably aren't going to be spectators. So you're going to have to create, an environment and excitement on your own. So let's just get used to doing it at our own pool by ourselves. And, it worked out really well. I mean, I think they swam great. They raced fast. And I think they were just so excited to race. I don't think it mattered what the environment was going to be like. They were going to swim pretty fast.
Yeah. I mean, certainly from looking at the results alone, it seemed like they did all right. I know, every time they pop up on SwimSwam, I'm just like, holy moly, they're doing something right in Charlottesville. And so now we know. And so to close out this conversation, especially, like you said, coming off of 3 dual meets in 7 days, heading into what we hope is the NCAA postseason, are you encouraged by what you have seen from your team this month?
Yeah. You mean as far as like potential end results?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I really base that more off of what we do in practice than on what we do in competition. I think that because we practice so much more than we compete, right? So how we practice should be reflective in how we're racing, and I think that's how we're practicing gives me as a coach significantly more confidence than what we do in meets, although the meets have been great too. So I think that just compounds it. But, we started doing doubles right after Christmas. So we kind of got back to our more normal training program. And, Interestingly enough, they're actually swimming faster now with the doubles than they were with just doing singles. And so, and now maybe our doubles aren't, I mean, they're what we typically do, but, I think that we've made adjustments from that perspective as well, just because, everything's different. I think we've done a fair amount more dry land this year than we've ever done before. Weightlifting is definitely significantly more intense than it's ever been before. So we put a pretty big emphasis on that side of things this year, knowing that we might not swim quite as much. I think it's been really beneficial. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about what they're going to do. I have no idea what they're going to do, but I have no doubt it's going to be really good. I think, at the end of the day, the question is just how good. But we've got really young, both our men and our women. We've got really young teams. We have. Like on the men, we only have 3 seniors and 3 juniors. So, it's, and then we have like 17 or 18 freshmen and sophomores. And then on the women's side, it's similar too. We have the 3 swimming wise, we have the 3 senior girls, and we have, I think 4 or 5 junior girls. And then it's 16 freshmen and sophomores. So, we're really young. So I think that adds even more excitement, because I think we know what we can get, after 2 or 3 years, you kind of know what you can expect out of your seniors and your juniors. I mean, they're going to improve, but you kind of know what you can expect. And obviously out of your freshmen, you have no clue. But I'm based on what they've done to this point and how they've raced through the first semester and second semester, and how they're training now, and how they've adjusted to the, intensity and volume with the doubles. It's a pretty exciting time.
Yeah. I've got one last question that I kind of just thought of. Obviously first semester you said was really different. Second semester, you've kind of gotten back into a more normal routine. Has this past year changed how you personally as a coach formulate workouts? You're known as the sprint guru. Has this last year, have you gained any perspective, or kind of been like, oh, maybe we should try this in workouts, or I want to form my workouts this way instead?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, especially the first semester when we're only going one swim a day. That took, 3 practices out of the week. So you had to figure out, and be a little bit more creative in what's important. So I think the first semester really helped, even after 15 years of coaching, and I'm sure that our rest of my staff will say the same thing, that it really helped you to take a step back and really think about what's really important. Like, do I really need to do this, or can I just do away with that, entirely? So, that, I think that's been really cool. I said this early on, but I knew this year was going to be challenging, like really, really challenging. And it's been challenging for the athletes, but definitely been challenging for the coaches as well. And to me, having a challenge is a great opportunity to learn something. And having a challenge just makes it interesting and more exciting. And you have to think things through a little bit more. So from that perspective, I've enjoyed it. I'm not sure there's a whole lot more that I've necessarily enjoyed, but I enjoy the kids, and I enjoy being on deck with them, which is, at least we still have that. But yeah, I think that I don't know that it's changed my approach to like each specific workout as much. Although, like I said earlier, it does make you think about what's really important. But it maybe it's changed my mindset a little bit on how much swimming you need to do. I mean, who knows? Look at Austin Surhoff.
Look at Austin Surhoff, man.
I'm not sure that'll work for 18-year-olds that got to swim 14 times in 3 days. But there's, anybody and everybody. But I've personally, I've always kind of taken that approach. I've always been a little bit of the mindset of less is more. And maybe now I'm a little bit more of more less is more. I don't know if you can follow that, but
someone write that down. More or less equals more. If you're not aware, Austin Surhoff was Todd's volunteer at UVA for two years.
I think he was just with us for 1 year.
Okay. Yeah. And if you don't know what he's done in the last couple of weeks, read more SwimSwam. What have you found out that, what have you prioritized now, and what have you said, okay, maybe we can do away with this?
Well, like I said, we've done a lot more land this year, especially. Our weightlifting has been the same. We've done the same amount of weightlifting that we've always done, although our strength program is significantly different this year. And that's mainly because we changed strength coaches. But we've done a lot more land, and within that land, and by land, I mean dry land. And what we're doing is really different. And we're spending a lot more time. Because we were only swimming once a day, we were able to spend more time with the land, and we've continued that now through even when we're doing doubles. And so we focused a lot more on like mobility and flexibility type things rather than just this, we need to do this conditioning stuff and get them in shape and work that kind of stuff. It's been a lot more stability, mobility, and flexibility, which I think has been huge for the team. We've had significantly less missed days of practice on our team this year than ever before. And what you would miss practice for is being sick or being injured, right? And we've had, and I think a lot of that is attributed to the first semester and only swimming once a day. But I think a lot of it's also attributed to what we're doing in dry land is, I think it's helping them to not get injured as well. But I think I've asked our athletic trainer to add up how many days we had, like as a team, how many days did we have people miss practice last year and compared to this year? It's been significantly different. So, I mean, we've also our practices are also a little bit later in the morning. The virtual learning and online learning lends to us being able to do that. So whether or not we can continue that in the future when we go back to in-person classes, we'll see. But I think I've learned a lot this year. And we kind of took the approach from the beginning, like, look, who knows what this year is going to be like? This is the year to experiment. If you're going to experiment, this is the time to do it, because at the end of the day, who knows what competitions you're going to have and where you're going to end up. So we're doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
I was just going to say, just ask me in about 2 months if it worked.
We'll check in. Post NCs. We'll have to follow up on that. Well, Todd, I always appreciate talking to you and hearing what wisdom you have to lend. Is there any parting thoughts before we sign off today?
I don't think so. I just appreciate you guys. SwimSwam's the greatest ever. So I'm a fan. Even when I get bashed on the comments, I'm still a fan.
And for that, we love you.
You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.